Emirates Team New Zealand's Achilles heel was exposed yesterday by Luna Rossa, and it might have gone unnoticed just how significant Emirates Team New Zealand's pre-start issues were. But when we break down this botched tack step by step, I'll then link it to the design choices that Emirates Team New Zealand have made, and I'll explain to you why this is a vulnerability that Luna Rossa or any of the other challengers may look to exploit through the round robin and in the cup match itself. Let's first of all take a look at the incident yesterday I'm talking about, which largely decided the race and gave Luna Rossa their lead. This is approaching the start. You can see 26 seconds to go. The starboard end of the line is just up here, just off screen, port end way off here, and the wind has clocked round right, meaning they are way over the starboard lay, both of them looking to duck down to get to this line. And I already know things are a miss here, just judging by the turn up.
Racing, they're turning number 17, the Louis Vuitton Cup Challengers.
So this is a roundup. You can see Luna Rossa are affecting this turn up into wind, and they're not having to pull the main all the way over to make this roundup, whereas Team New Zealand are having to pull their main all the way up on the Traveller to windward to try and head up. And you can see there's a large ventilation of the rudder in doing so, and quite a twisty main. So that was the first indication to me that something potentially wasn't quite right here. Okay, skipping forward to the actual start, Luna Rossa get this powerful kind of reach over the top of Team New Zealand. Team New Zealand look pretty defenceless. This is just an incredible pre-start. Luna Rossa hit, think briefly, 48 knots in the pre-start reaching down the line. Just incredible to get the jump on Team New Zealand. The course is right favoured, is right skewed, so, and predicted to keep on clocking right as well, so getting access to the right hand side of the course early looks good. So Emirates aren't out of this, even though they're going 10 knots slower. If they can perform the roundup, get into an early tack, then they are good. But then this happens.
Race 17 in the Louis Vuitton.
So just pause that. The start's gone. Luna Rossa have hit the start online. You can see Luna Rossa in just off the bow of Emirates Team New Zealand. Emirates Team New Zealand are trying to head up here, and I know they're trying to head up, even though the boat's not turning, because their main sheet is all the way over to windward, and that is something you would naturally do when you want to head a boat up into the wind. You'll pull on the main sheet, which drags the stern of the boat through the wind, or drags the nose up into the wind by changing the balance between the jib and the main. But for some reason, the boat doesn't turn, just keeps on going straight. They eventually drop the windward foil and eventually start to turn, but they're having to use so much main sheet all the way up, Traveller all the way up to windward. See, they've dropped down to 20 knots, 18 knots, 16, 15, 14, and they are now off the foil. Even in this frame, so a few seconds before the start, you can see just here that Team New Zealand's Traveller's already up quite a long way, and they've got huge amounts of twist on their mainsail, whereas their jib is relatively tight. On Luna Rossa, you can see the mainsail is reasonably far up, but the jib is quite twisted. You can see the bottom half of the jib, but the top half is so twisted it's effectively invisible to us. There you can see it just coming into frame. So you can see how much twist they've got on the jib. The main sheet is on a bit, got a decent amount of twist, whereas Emirates Team New Zealand have their Traveller up to the windward side of the boat, but their jib is quite tight already, strapped down quite tight. This tells me they are, or just the amount of Traveller they've got up tells me they're already trying to round this boat up into wind and struggling before they go through the wake of Luna Rossa. You can see Luna Rossa do actually lose their rudder slightly as well in this head up, this plume of white, but the boat does still head up, and that's for two reasons. They basically got the boat in balance through the trimming of their sails. Their main is quite twisted, but not hugely. The Traveller's up on the midway, but this jib is really eased out. Loads of twist on it, loads of belly coming out at the top. Whereas on Team New Zealand boat, who are trying to round up as well, their Traveller is now all the way up to the windward side, but huge amounts of twist on their mainsail. I'd say the top of their sail is eased further out than Luna Rossa, but the bottom of their sail is up probably 10 degrees from where Luna Rossa is. It's the start of their problem. So they're trying to turn the boat, but the boat won't turn because the jib's on and the main's got no leech tension to swing the back of the boat through and twist it up into the wind by changing the balance between the jib and the main. The windward board goes down and the boat is just, at this point, it's not turning into the wind, it's just slipping sideways. Loads of side slip here, and the main sheet is all the way up, but you can just see the top of this sail is completely ineffective, no leech tension at all. Whereas Luna Rossa have only got their main on the centre line, but decent leech tension. Yeah, it was quite windy, so still seeing a decent amount of twist, but they do have some leech tension. And their rudder has regained flow from about here and for a good few lengths, whereas Emirates Team New Zealand, despite having 2 falls in the water, are still effectively slipping sideways. And they kind of skid into this tack, drop off the foils. So we know the crux of what happened. They slipped sideways and fell off their foils in the tack. But what about the Team New Zealand design has led to this situation? What are the choices they made which have led to this vulnerability? So I'm just sharing with you a data visualization from ERDB. And for me, the really interesting graph on the right hand side is this bottom one, which is yaw. So that's how the boats are either crabbing to windward with negative leeway, or falling off to leeward, which is leeway that, you know, kind of all sailors know. And actually most boats sail typically with about 3, 4, maybe 5 degrees of leeway slipping sideways. These boats typically sail with almost no leeway or negative leeway, so they actually crab to windward on their canting foils. Team New Zealand hit almost 30 degrees of leeway going into this tack. Typically, looking at other tacks, they're about 15 degrees, so double the amount of leeway. And I think it's the leeway which really causes the rudder to stall, in that the main foil isn't quite gripping enough. The sail balance is out of kilter as well, which is killing it. They've not got enough leech tension on the mainsail. They've got too much leech tension on the jib. And all of that contributes to that boat just not wanting to round up into the wind. That is a big problem for doing manoeuvres pre-start like this. What is it about the Team New Zealand design decisions which has led to this? Now, I think it's something we spoke to about on the Mozzy Sails channel before, and it's the way they're controlling their mainsail systems. So for those of you who don't know, I'll bring the pictures up on screen. Team New Zealand have a complex main sheet system where they basically have a separate main sheet for either skin. This is something no other team has except Orient Express, who bought their design package, but effectively you have 2 main sheets, one for the starboard side, one for the port side. All the other teams have 1 main sheet, which then goes up to a link attaching to the 2 skins, and the link is passive, allowing the 2 skins to slide over each other in attack. Now, the pros of this system, I think we're seeing in some of Emirates Team New Zealand's ability to do low speed tacks with good gliding into the eye of the wind, because they can really control those 2 skins independently, flatten them off, really control the moment that the battens pop through with the mast rotation. With the link controls, that can be done with a lot of presets, quite clever. The downside to this system, and I mentioned it in my video reviewing this when we first saw it, is do they have the power to actively control this? Yes, having 2 skins, 2 main sheets means the load will be effectively halved because you've got 2 of them. but you've then got all the extra friction of moving through 2 purchase systems, and you don't have the passive system, sliders, linkages, which other teams have, which don't need any energy to coordinate, whereas this is really energy intensive. So I thought this could always be a Achilles heel of Emirates Team New Zealand. Would they be able to provide the oil to this system to really adjust the main sheet tension rapidly? And looking at how Emirates Team New Zealand approached that start line with so much twist, very little mainsail on, and lots of jib to kind of balance the boat in the heel direction, they just weren't in a position to sort their sails out to actually round their boat up into the wind. And I think oil and power really could have been an issue, because we hear from Jimmy in his interview with Planet Sail.
I'd basically emptied the accumulator beforehand with a couple of other moves.
The Kiwis ended up in your dirt. I mean, turbulence in the water, spun out as a result. Was that part of the game plan from you, or because we hear about spilling dirty air over people, but not so much wash?
Yeah, I haven't been able to really review the footage that much, so I really don't know. I mean, there could have been a lack of oil for them. I'm not sure. Turbulence, I don't know how it played out, but.
So Jimmy gives great interviews, and this is from Matt Sheehan at Planet Sail. So thanks to Matt for getting this interview. And Matt suggests whether the skid out was because of the turbulence in the water from Luna Rossa, possibly. But I'm actually with Jimmy here, and that I think it was an oil issue, that Team New Zealand just aren't able to get the amount of oil to this twin skin system to get the main winched on from doing these big bearways in lots of breeze where you need a really twisty sail to then heading up onto the breeze to get that mainsail clamped back down. And Luna Rossa and all the other challengers will take a great amount of confidence from this. So just looking in more detail about probably one other feature as well, which may be exacerbating the situation for Emirates Team New Zealand. Run aft of the Team New Zealand boat is pretty straight to here, and then it comes up gently to the rudder at the back. Good look at it. So you can see how this bustle tapers a long way aft, means that it can dig in the water and stop the boat from turning as well. You can see here that this kind of vertical edge sits down in the water on the waterline, whereas when we look at Luna Rossa, their belly tapers up, and it does mean they've had to put more workings to the rudder above deck because they brought this up, so they've got less space for rudder workings in the box here. It does mean when we look at the boat floating on its waterline, if I zoom in, that actually this kind of straight edges, these parallel edges, do sit above the waterline, so they're less likely to dig in attack, whereas Team New Zealand's definitely dig in during attack and would make it even harder to round that boat up into the wind. So for me, there are 2 key design elements from Team New Zealand which are positive in a way. Hiding that rudder workings in the box is more aero. Having the end plate run further aft and be lower down again lets less air underneath the boat, so is good when flying, but causes them issues to turn the boat. Secondly, their main sheet setup, which I think they're doing quite clever things with during tacks, is excellent and gives them more control over the main skins, but it's more oil hungry, and potentially they've come unstuck against a simpler Luna Rossa setup in the pre-start. As always, let me know if you think I'm on the money with this theory. If you think it's interesting, share it to your mate. Get involved in the comments below. Thanks for your time. See you around.